Hi, this is Marcus Giuliano, and I'm a chef on a mission. Today's mission is beef, grass-fed beef. I had the very fortunate opportunity last week to be on Lassiter Ranch, which is a 25,000 acre grass farm that does Beefmaster beef. And what a great experience. And I've always been involved in grass-fed beef. Although I do not, and I don't want to represent that I serve 100% grass-fed beef at my restaurant, because I don't. Time to time I do. However, there are a lot of other chefs out there that claim they're serving grass-fed beef. And this is why I'm on a mission. Because I feel that if you're a chef, or if we're a consumer and we're going to buy something from a restaurant, we're going to pay for it, and you're labeling something on your menu, and it's not what you say you are, I believe it's fraud. It's downright fraud. Now, grass-fed beef, people go out of their way for grass-fed beef because some of those health nuts will go anywhere for grass-fed beef because they only eat grass-fed as opposed to grain-fed. So they'll go out of their way. But what happens when a chef or a restaurant lies or is misled or misrepresenting what they have on their menu? Do you think it's right? I don't think it's right at all. I wasn't going to mention any names, but I feel that it's very important to mention names on this particular blog, because one of the chefs I'm going to call out here is a celebrity chef. He's on one of those cooking shows, Colicchio from Craft Steak. Now, I had friends that called me or text me from Foxwoods Casino and said Craft Steak has grass-fed steaks on their menu. And another friend said, Marcus, can you check that out? It doesn't sound right. And I said, you know what? Let me do some research. I look on their menu, and sure enough, grass-fed beef, and it lists the name of a farm called Painted Hills Farm. I immediately go on the internet, do research, call the farm, ask a bunch of questions, and right off the bat, the farm admits that they're not grass-fed, and nor do they mean to represent that they're grass-fed. And she also said from the farm that a lot of chefs misinterpret that they're grass-fed. As I said, you know, I know of a couple restaurants that are actually listing you as grass-fed. She was like, well, that happens because people just think we are because we quote-unquote do beef in a natural way. So I call the restaurant. I call Craft Steak, Tom Colicchio's restaurant. I asked to speak to the manager. I said, I'm interested in I'm coming for dinner. I'm interested in the grass-fed beef that's on your menu. Is it really grass-fed? And she goes, well, absolutely, it sure is. And I said, well, okay. I said, because from the research I'm doing, I don't believe that it is. She goes, well, our chef said it is. I said, well, who's your chef? She goes, let me get you back into the kitchen. She takes the phone back to, I guess, the head butcher or something who's been there a while. And I ask him the same questions. You know, I'm concerned about eating grass-fed beef. Do you have grass-fed beef? He goes, all our beef is grass-fed. The stuff from Painted Hill is 100% grass-fed. And I said, okay. And I explained, and I called him out on it. And he basically said, well, I guess my salesman's lying to me. Well, you guess what? Your salesman did lie to you, or somebody lied to you, or you didn't go on the information or go on the website to look. Because if you go on Painted Hill's website, by no means does it ever mention that it's grass-fed beef. It says they're on pasture, but at 14 months they're removed from pasture and put into a feed operation, which is basically like a feedlot. It might not be as an intense feedlot because Painted Hills is more natural, but they're removed from grass pastures and then put into a feeding facility where they're fed barley, corn, and alfalfa. Now, 2 out of 3 of those are a grain. So that chef would have known that if he would have done his research. And that was part of the reason why I was in Colorado on Lassiter Ranch, because I wanted to do some more research about this particular ranch. And I went to the processing plant where they process and got a whole education. Really phenomenal to be in the field with 200 cows circling you. So today's gripe is menus that are mislabeled. And I find this all the time. I had Wolfgang Puck restaurant Spago in Las Vegas. The chef came out and apologized to me and said it was a misprint on the salmon. This happens all the time, and maybe it happens to me because I know better, because I've been around this stuff and I know the differences, so I'm able to pick these small things up, or to some people, big things up. There's a restaurant bias in Beacon called Woody's All Natural, and I know the beef that they're using. I see it on the delivery truck, because the delivery truck comes to me sometimes first, then it goes there. I know the beef they're using, and people think they're serving grass-fed beef. I called them 6 months ago. I got into it with them then. Spoke to the manager. She admitted that it wasn't grass-fed. It's grass-fed and grain finished, which is, for us grass-fed lovers, that's not acceptable. To be grass-fed, you have to be 100% grass-fed and grass-finished. So she goes, well, it is grain finished and this and that. I said, well, then it's not, you can't advertise grass-fed. So she agreed and this and that. 6 months later, we just called before this blog. I just called, had somebody call and said, I understand you serve grass-fed burgers. Is that true? And they said, absolutely. What did they say, Jamie?
They said 100. I said, do you serve grass-fed burgers? And she said yes. And I said, are they 100%? And she said yes.
Yes. Now, and then Jamie asked where the farm was coming from. And they said the name of the farm, Pineland. Pineland's a great farm. Nothing disrespecting Pineland. It's a great co-op of over 125 farms in the Northeast, small family farms. But they're not grass-finished. So the chef, going back to the chef at Craft Steak, he said, well, you know, it's eating barley, but it's still grass-fed. And I said to him, well, if that's the case, all beef is born on grass pastures. Because all beef is going to be born typically on a grass pasture with the mother, and they're going to eat grass for the first 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months before they're sold off to another mid-finisher or somebody else before they get from the feedlot. So I said, if that's the case, every single restaurant in America could advertise they have grass-fed beef. And they don't, because they don't have grass-fed beef. It's not. Once you start feeding an animal grain, it's no longer grass-fed. Now there are two differences as far as grain-fed. Some of the small family farms still keep them on grass pastures. They eat a lot of grass and grain supplement, which is not as bad for you as taking beef, removing it from grass and sticking it into a confined feeding area where they're only eating grain and they're actually on dirt and manure, their own manure, because they're so crammed together like the big boys do. So those are the two differences in the way they're going to finish beef. But for the meantime, if you don't feed the cattle 100% grass from day one all the way till the end, you can't call it grass-fed beef. It's impossible. One of the best certifications out there is the American Grass-Fed
Coalition?
Yeah, the AGA. Courtney, where's that website at that I had on before? And I know Carrie Balcom, the executive director of the AGA, American Grass-Fed Association. What's their website? It's AmericanGrassFed.org. They have a list of all the grass-fed farmers that they endorse, and it's a third-party certification. So if you're really interested in grass-fed beef, you want to look for this neat little emblem that has these blades of grass growing in a circle, and that's from the American Grass-Fed Association. Third-party certifier. They are the most extensive grass-fed certifier in the country. In fact, in the world, the most thorough. So when you see that, you understand that you are truly eating pure grass-fed beef. Now, grass-fed beef versus grain-fed beef, there's a lot of differences, and I've talked about these in other blogs. Just you'll have to go back and find some of those other blogs because the nutritional aspects of grain-fed is just far inferior. When you keep the animal on grass, the omegas, the conjugated linoleic acid, the fat, everything's just so different and so much more healthier for you and for the land. The emissions that come out, the manure that comes out of the cow, everything is so much more healthier. It's grass-fed beef is a home run. So, Tom Colicchio, please change your menu at Craft Steak. If you're watching this and you are into grass-fed beef, email Tom Colicchio, email Craft Steak in Foxwoods, ask them to remove it. If you're near Woody's All Natural in Beacon, say something to them, because it's about time. We need to have these people mislead us. Now, Woody's is a small place, but Tom Colicchio is a nationally known celebrity chef, and he should not be able to get away with something like that and be able to, and maybe he's not paying attention in his restaurant. I asked him if he actually owns it or if he licenses it, and they told me he owns it. So he's making money there. Even if he licenses it, he still needs to understand what's going on. But he owns it. He should be responsible, and he should step up to the plate and make sure that his chef there or his manager or who's ever in charge is serving what they say they're serving, and they're not serving grass-fed beef. Tom Colicchio, please apologize and change your menu. Thank you. Marcus Giuliano, chef on a mission.